Balloons is always the answer. B-I-A-T-A. A tribute to Bloons Tower Defense 5. One of my favorite games of all time. Back before I had this fancy computer and access to any game I could ever think of. I had my PlayStation 4 that I shared with my brother, and I had my iPhone with no cellular service, so it was pretty much just an iPod. One thing I did have was the App Store. And stumbling across this great game that is Bloons Tower Defense 5, or BTD 5 for short, was one of the best things that had ever happened to me up to that point. Now I was 10, so not much happened to me, but this was one of them. One of the things that happened. That was weird. BTD 5 was the perfect game for any situation. And the fact that you didn't need an internet connection meant that I could go play with my monkeys I bought whenever I did. Who wrote this script? I can't say that. And since I didn't need a connection to the internet, I could go pop some balloons whenever I damn well pleased. Out at dinner, waiting for food? BTD 5. In the car? BTD 5. At home, bored with my brother? BTD 5. BTD 5 simply is always the answer. Now, I had not played any of the other Bloons games up to this point. I was literally 4 years old when the first one came out in 2007. So, on November 15th, 2012, Bloons Tower Defense 5 came to the App Store. It cost $3 on iPhone and $5 on iPad, which is kind of a scam. It's the same game, but whatever. This was one of the only games that 10-year-old me had ever paid for. This and Minecraft, that was it. Because I didn't want to go talk to my mom and convince her that I needed these monkeys popping these balloons to get me through my day. It was $3, 3 big ones. That was a lot of money back then. I convinced my mom that this perfect roster of monkeys needed to be in my collection of games. Definitely not the best feature, but one of my favorite features was co-op. Me and my brother could play and try to beat the game together. He got one side of the map, I got the other, and we worked together to try to win. It was a lot of fun, and I did that a lot with my brother. Now, the co-op itself is not very good. The connection's bad, it's super hard to join like a lobby and all of that, but 10-year-old me didn't notice, and I don't notice now, or I pretend not to. This game has the perfect amount of difficulty. Anybody from a 26-year-old professional who's been playing for 120 hours straight to 10-year-old me could beat this game. But at the same time, not sacrificing the integrity of the game. If you messed up and you didn't get camo detection or you didn't get lead popping early enough in the game, you paid for it. At any difficulty, it was important to have the right strategy and the right towers down to be able to get through the rounds, which I feel like is a unique quality that not a lot of games have. I feel like a lot of games, the easy mode is too easy and the hard mode is too hard. But this was a perfect middle ground because it still had the strategy and quality of the game, but you could increase the difficulty a little bit if you wanted to, if you felt like you were up to it. The maps were super creative and super pretty, and they were well drawn. They also added a little bit of complexity to the game with the water features and only certain troops being to go in certain places. It not only meant you had to think about what troops to place, but how many you could and where to put them. And it added a different dynamic to the game that I hadn't seen up to that point. Each tower felt like its own person. It had a personality. It wasn't just a gun on a stick that could shoot the stupid tanks or whatever coming in. It was my pal, the monkey, that would pop these stupid balloons. And we were going to stop them together once and for all. No, but it felt like each tower had its own personality traits and characteristics. The dart monkey was a little bit weak, but he had heart. The sniper, deadly accurate, prides himself in his work. You know, just like things like that. Like they kept a theme with the upgrades and, you know, the little descriptions and all that for each tower, and I thought that was really cool. It wasn't just like, oh, here's the super mega gun that can kill all these guys. The balloons were also a unique dynamic. They didn't just die, and there wasn't just more of them whenever a wave got harder. Each balloon that died would pop out a new balloon, all the way down to the bottom tier, which is the red balloons. It was a unique mechanic that only this game had. The balloons would get smaller and smaller and smaller until they finally went away, whereas the other games, things would just die. So when you get these big boss balloons, the Moab, the mother of all balloons, dear Lord, I'm sorry. I think there's one above that too. But when you get that, you don't just have to worry about killing that. You gotta deal with everything that comes after that. And you know, when you get up to these big stages of balloons, there's a lot of things that come out of it, and it makes it just a little bit harder. And I think that's interesting. And there was no one obvious strategy or way to play the game. Each tower was unique and it had its own place and it did its own things. You know, you could freeze up, you could slow them down, you could try to pop them now, or you could set spikes down the road. There's a plethora of options and ways to play this game. And no tower was overpowered and there was no one clear choice. Now the Super Monkey, obviously the best tower in the game, but you couldn't get that in early rounds. You had to use the Dart Monkey or the Ninja Monkey, or, you know, you had to use a different tower. You couldn't just play one the whole game because early game you couldn't afford it, and late game they're not going to be good enough to keep up. It's very well balanced, and even though the Mortar is the worst tower I've ever seen in my entire life, people could use it, and it's a viable option. And we don't talk about the Bloon Chipper, but after what he pulled last year, and the replayability of this game is unparalleled. I think that it's what kept me and millions of other people coming back to the game day after day, year after year even. And to this day, you could play it and still have just as much fun as you did on the day it came out. The level system is a good one. You unlock the tier 4 upgrades as you rank up. So as you go down the list of towers, you get their best abilities and best upgrades as you get more experience and you pop more balloons. And it's, you know, fun to try to unlock them all, and you can't wait to see what the next one is because it's usually more powerful than the one before. It adds a little bit of wanting to come back and feeling like you're progressing through the game. The upgrade paths are probably my favorite feature of the whole game, having 2 paths to choose from. It was a hard decision to make. When I was 10 years old, choosing between the Sun God and the Robo Monkey, or the Buccaneer and the Destroyer, was one of the hardest decisions I ever had to make. Each upgrade path having its own unique abilities and usefulness. No 2 upgrade paths were the same, and usually they went in completely opposite directions, which is an interesting mechanic for the same tower to be able to do like 2 completely different things. I think it's fun, and I think it's a good way to add a little bit of dynamic to the game. Bloons Tower Defense 6 came out in 2018, and I have never played it yet, but if it's anything like Bloons Tower Defense 5, it's a great game and I probably should play it. Other than that, I just wanted to come on here and talk about probably one of my favorite games of all time. If you haven't played it and you had no idea what I was talking about, you should go play it. It's a lot of fun. It's just as much fun today as it was in 2012 or anywhere in between. We're a bit of Balloon Chipper Andes. Psych, I lied, we hate him. If you haven't played the game, go play it. It's a ton of fun, and you'll be addicted for hours. Other than that, I don't got much else. Go play the damn game. And I'm gonna go play the damn game too. That's a lie. I'm gonna edit this video, but you know what I mean. And if you want to see me play the game, maybe I will, maybe I won't. It's up to me. If you did enjoy the video, make sure to like and subscribe and all the fun stuff. And leave me a comment, let me know what you think. Hanging out with people? Mid, honestly, bro. Balloons is where it's at. Alright, I'll see y'all.